जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा। कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा। जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय। गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतः श्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस विश्वगुरु एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतः श्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण रुक्मिणी सत्यभामा की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। विश्वगुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, verse number 17. Prakritehe Guna Samyasya Prakriter Guna Samyasya Prakriter Guna Samyasya Nirvisheshasya Manavi Nirvisheshasya Manavi Nirvisheshasya Manavi Cheshta Yataha Sa Bhagavan Cheshta Yatah Sa Bhagavan Cheshta Yatah Sa Bhagavan Kala Iti Upalakshitaha Kala Ityupalakshitaha Kala Ityupalakshitaha Prakriter Gunasamyasya Nirvisheshasya Manavi Cheshta Yatah Sa Bhagavan Kala Ityupalakshitaha Prakriter Gunasamyasya Nirvisheshasya Manavi Cheshta Yatah Sa Bhagavan Kala Ityupalakshitaha
Prakritir guna samyasya nirvisheshasya manavi cheshtayata sa bhagavan kala iti upalakshitaha
प्रकृतेर्गुण साम्यस्य निर्विशेषस्य मानवी चेष्टायतः स भगवान् काल इत्युपलक्षितः
प्रकृतेर्गुणसाम्यस्य निर्विशेषस्य मानवी चेष्टायतः स भगवान् काले इत्युपलक्षितः.
Prakritehe of material nature Gunasamyasya without interaction of the three modes Nirvicheshasya without specific qualities Manavi, O daughter of Manu Cheshta, movement Yataha, from whom Saha, he Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kalaha, time Iti, thus Upalakshitaha is designated. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. My dear mother, O daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, the time factor, as I have explained, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom the creation begins as a result of the agitation of the neutral, unmanifested nature. Kindly repeat. My dear mother, O daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, the time factor, as I have explained, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom the creation begins as a result of the agitation of the neutral, unmanifested nature. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The unmanifested state of material nature, pradhana, is being explained. The Lord says that when the unmanifested material nature is agitated by the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it begins to manifest itself in different ways. Before this agitation, it remains in the neutral state without interaction by the three modes of material nature. In other words, material nature cannot produce any variety of manifestations without the contact of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is very nicely explained in Bhagavad Gita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of the products of material nature. Without his contact, material nature cannot produce anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, a very suitable example is given in this connection. Although the nipples on a goat's neck appear to be breast nipples, they do not give milk. Similarly, material nature appears to the material scientist to act and react in a wonderful manner, but in reality, it cannot act without the agitator, time, who is the representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When time agitates the neutral state of material nature begins to produce varieties of manifestations. Ultimately, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of creation. As a woman cannot produce children unless impregnated by a man, material nature cannot produce or manifest anything unless it is impregnated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of the time factor. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Mande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Several years back, I had gone to Rishikesh, and people generally go to Haridwar, Rishikesh. Go to Haridwar, there is the Har Ki Padi, where people go to take bath in the Ganga. And apart from that, I did not know much about Haridwar. Of course, we know the spiritual significance. Haridwara, that's the place where many spiritual personalities, many rishis, saints, sages have all attained the abode of Hari. Haridwara, it is the passage or the gate which will potency of that place and go back to Godhead. And today, everybody goes to Haridwar to take bath in the Ganga. So I also had gone, so I went and took bath in the Ganga, but I didn't really know what else is there to see in Haridwar. So I happened to meet one sadhu there. I asked him, what else is there to see here? He said, have you visited Kankal? I said, I have not visited Kankal. What is that? He said, go and visit. So in Haridwar, very close to Haridwar only, part of Haridwar only, there is this Kankal. And when I went there, there is this beautiful premises. And it's right on the bank of the Ganga. If you see the Ganga, there are a few narrow steps. You climb down, Ganga ji is flowing there. Very calm and beautiful place. So there is a temple, and there is one Yajna Kunda. And the people there, when I inquired, what is this place, what is the significance? Normally we ask the Sthala Purana whenever we go there. They informed me that this is the place where Daksha Maharaj conducted his fire sacrifice. And at that time, Sati had come, and we know in the 4th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, there is a description of how there was, Daksha was not in favor of his son-in-law, Lord Shiva. And not understanding Lord Shiva's position, he had insulted him. Because of it, Sati gave up her body. Sati sat down in meditation, and the Agni from within, she invoked that, and she self-immolated with the fire from within the body. And so, the people there told me that this is the place where Sati gave up her body, and this is the place where temple of Lord Shiva and all that. And after coming out of the temple, to the left side, there was one more temple. And naturally, when we go to such places of holy places, we want to visit all the temples. So I walked in. I think there were 2 or 3 deities there, big, huge, maybe 10 feet, 12 feet tall, that kind of thing. And one of them was dark in color and very tall, surrounded by dogs and hand holding different kinds of weapons and a garland of skulls and things like that. Fierce form. And I think at the bottom or at the top, there was a nameplate. It said Kala Bhairava. So I immediately understood, especially when you see the dog, you can make out. Dog is a constant companion of Kala Bhairava. So Kala Bhairava, huge deity. And of course, to the side, there were also Radha Krishna deities and so many other deities also. Paid obeisances to all of them and came. So Kankal is a wonderful place in Haridwar. When we go there also, we can feel the spiritual vibrations. Beautiful place. Anyway, so Prabhupada, he gave an interesting perspective to how, actually an interesting perspective to the incident of Gandhiji, how he was assassinated. A different spiritual perspective. Gandhiji had been, in his younger days, we all know, he had been a barrister, successful. He was practicing in South Africa, somewhere abroad. And then we all know there was that incident in the train, discrimination, because of which, he got shaken up. And eventually he decided to give up all his material job, his career, everything. He gave up all his suit, boot, pant, and all those kind of things. Wore just one simple dhoti, not even an upper cloth, and started walking by foot all over the country. And what was his work? He was only gathering the support of the people to gain independence from the British rule. And he did this for not 1 or 2 years, several decades. You can imagine, he really 20, 30 years, he really worked for this, worked very hard. So not a small thing, so determined, never gave up on this, on his ideals, on his strategy, non-cooperative movement and peaceful eviction of the Britishers from India. So fought very hard in a determined way, in a novel way, and he gathered the entire country's collective conscience to fight against the Britishers. And eventually, his dream was fulfilled. 1947, August 15th, the Britishers left India, and India again became independent. So you can imagine a man who all his life fought hard, sacrificed his family, his career, his everything, put everything at stake, and not for 1 or 2 years, for 20 years, 30 years, struggling against the might of the entire British civilization, the British Empire. Eventually, he managed to get the desired result. You can imagine the whole country, looked up to him. He is the father of the nation. Whatever he wanted, he could have got at that point of time. He wanted to become the PM, he wanted to become the president, he wanted to become the dictator also. Nobody would have said no to him. So much popularity, so much reverence for him. But keeping with his mood of renunciation, he said, I don't want any political post. I wanted freedom for the country, I got it. So you can see, very selfless person. He did not do it with any motivation for himself. For his countrymen, he did it. But eventually what happened? Shortly after India gained independence, he became so frustrated with what was going on in the country, he said, only death can give me peace. So you can see, Gandhiji spent his whole life, dedicated his life for his countrymen. He sacrificed his career, his family, comforts of home, sacrificed everything. And eventually at the end, he said, only death can save me. And finally he was killed also. So Prabhupada gives a very interesting perspective to this. He says, he gives this example, he quotes this example of Gandhiji and says, how you see, when we become frustrated in our attempts, we have certain goals, certain aspiration, that we will be happy in this way. Like Gandhiji thought, by gaining independence, we will become happy. Under the Britishers, we are suffering, and if we gain independence from them, we'll become happy. So every one of us has certain aspirations, some goal in life. We want to earn money, we want to have a beautiful wife, we want to have a good husband, we want to have a secure job, we want to have our own house, we want to have our own car, for somebody it is an iPhone, etc., etc., etc. And we think that if I get this, I'll become happy. And we work hard, struggle, face so many challenges, adversities, trying to get to our desired goal. And ultimately, when we get to that desired goal, when we see that there is no happiness in this, what my expectation was, it is not being met. Like Gandhiji's expectation was not met. So what happened? Gandhiji thought, better I die. Let me finish my existence. So when a person becomes frustrated with his attempts to achieve his goal or to become happy in this material world, what happens? He wants to negate, he wants to give up his existence. So, if from the spiritual perspective, there are jnanis who make it a goal in their life to completely negate their existence, to merge into that absolute truth, to merge into Brahman and finish their existence. And for this, they undertake great endeavor. They take sannyas, they become renounced, they study the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutra, and they undergo very strict vows of sannyasa. All this for what? Because they want to merge into Brahman and finish this existence. So Prabhupada explains that this desire of the jnanis to merge into Brahman and finish their existence is actually arising out of their frustration after trying to enjoy material nirvisheshavadi. There is the second class of people who are, and these nirvisheshavadis, they are actually one kind of atheists. They do not believe in God, they do not believe in our own existence. Brahman, Satya, Jagan, Mithya, there is only some Nirvikara, Nirvishesha Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, Nirguna, Nirvikara, Nirvishesha Brahman, which is the absolute truth. So they don't believe in God. They say Krishna, Rama, Shiva, all these are simply imagination. We have created those imagination to facilitate our progress spiritually. Eventually, we have to forget all of them. They're all not really any actual personalities. But when we reach a certain stage in our spiritual knowledge, we can give them up, and then we can meditate on the impersonal Brahman. This is their thinking. So, in reality, they are also one kind of atheists. So, when we speak of atheists, there is a second class of people who are also atheists. They are called the Shunyavadis. According to the Shunyavadis, the modern material scientists and such other people, and in the olden times, there were people like Charvaka Muni. There were Munis and sages also who had this concept. What is that? That actually behind this creation there is no God and there is nothing beyond this material creation. This material creation, it came into existence out of nothing. And eventually we also are born out of nothing. Some interaction of some chemical, some consciousness has come. Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki jai. And when we die, our existence is finished, over, end. So Shunya, everything is actually Shunya, zero. Nothing actually exists. Some chemical interaction happens, we all come together, the planets are formed, the universe is formed, we are also coming to existence, and then after a little while, the chemicals go back to the chemicals and finished. So this is called the Shunyavada. And these people who have this atheistic temperament, Krishna describes what is their thinking in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, uh, what is that? Asatyam, what is that? Asatyam apratishtham jagadahur anishwaram. Asatyam apratishtham jagadahur anishwaram. So they say, Jagat Ahu, they say this universe, Ahu means they say. So Jagadahu, they say, what is the basis of this universe? It is asatyam, it is temporary. And apratishtam, there is no basis, there is no purpose behind this creation. Just like that, by chance, there was a big bang, and then a lump of matter came together, and this existence has come. It's all by chance. There is no purpose behind this, and there is no basis to this. Jagadahur Anishwaram Aparaspara Sambhutam Nanyat Kamahaitukam. So Krishna says, they say that this universe has come about by chance from nothing, just like the scientists also say. There was nothing, suddenly there was a bang and everything came together. So this is their theory. Krishna has spoken about this 5,000 years ago, before the Big Bang theory came into existence, long before. And therefore, they say, because it has no purpose and it has come out of nothing, then how have we all come into existence, living entities? Kama Haitukam, simply because of lusty desires. One man and woman, they have lusty desire, and out of their union, we all are born. That's all. There is no other reason, there is no other purpose for our existence as human beings also. Nor is there any purpose behind the universe. This is their argument. This is their theory. But what is the reality? Reality is there is a purpose behind this creation. There is a purpose behind our existence. What that is, we will see later. So this is one class of atheists. Now when it comes to the Shunyavadis, their theory is that ultimately we have to merge into Brahman. Brahman is the absolute truth. And there is no Vishesha, there is no variety, it is Nirvishesha, there are no qualities, it is Nirguna, it has no form, it is Nirakara. You cannot explain it, it is without attributes. It's some formless entity which is called Brahman. This is their theory. So, but then what is this formless, qualityless, varietyless existence? So one is this material manifestation, which is full of varieties that we are seeing, but these varieties are temporary. They have no permanence. The universe also comes into existence at a certain point of time, and the universe will go out of existence at a certain point of time. Everybody agrees. Whether it is scientist, philosopher, Vedantist, whoever it is, everybody understands this. So the universe itself is temporary, and our existence is also temporary. If I got a human form of life, I'm not going to live forever. 60 years, 80 years, 100 years max. After that, I die. Then this form that I have, that of a human being, of a man or a woman or whatever, that is completely destroyed. That's finished. Similarly, whether you take plants, trees, animals, any living entity you take, ultimately after a certain, they take birth at a certain point of time, and at a certain point of time, they die, finished. So, the material world is full of varieties. We see so many forms. Ati sim chaturas chaiva lakshamstam jiva jatishu. According to Vedic scriptures, there are 84 lakh species of living entities. Birds, aquatics, animals, insects, human beings, all put together. So many varieties of living entities. And even within the planets also, Vasudhari Vibhuti Bhinnam. Each planet has its own Vibhuti, its own opulence. We are conversant with the kind of things that are there on the earth. There are oceans of salt water. There are rivers of sweet water. There are mountains. There are hills. There are volcanoes. So many wonderful things in material nature. So whether you take the material nature or the living entities, this material world is full of varieties of manifestations, but all of them are temporary. So therefore, the jnani is what they say, this temporary material nature is asatya. Brahman satya, Jagan mithya. It is mithya, it is all illusion. Actually, there is no basis for this existence, because it's all temporary. So they say, therefore the absolute truth must be something which is without any of these varieties. without any of these qualities which we see within this material world, and without the forms that we see within the material world. That must be the absolute truth. So Krishna says something similar in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that Bhuta Gramasa Evayam Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate Ratragame Avashaha Partha Prabhavishyanti Aharagame. Krishna says that Bhuta Gramaha Sa Evayam, the entire gamut of the living entities, all the living entities, what is happening to them? Bhuta Grama means the entire collection of all the unlimited number of living entities. Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate, they are going on taking repeated birth and death. This is repeatedly going on. Every day we can see somebody is dying, somebody is taking birth. So this is happening all over the world. It's not only all over the world, all over the universe this is happening. We may have experience of only this earth. At least on the earth, we can see in front of our eyes. Every second, there are people dying and there are people taking birth. Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. Constantly this is going on. And Krishna has already stated in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that Jatasya Dhruvo Mrityur Janma Mritasya Cha. Just like when a person is born, his death is guaranteed. Similarly, when a person dies, his next birth is also guaranteed. Whether not necessarily as a human being, it may be as an animal, as a tree, as a plant, whatever. But some birth is guaranteed. So, Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate, we are going on taking repeated birth and death within this material world. So, Ratriyagame Avashaha, helplessly we have to undergo this phenomenon of death. Nobody wants to die. But everybody helplessly has to die. We may take various kinds of measures, countermeasures to prevent death. We go to the hospital, we do exercises, we take care of our health. All these things we do with the intention that we want to avoid death. But when death comes knocking at our door, we are helpless. So, Avashaha, helplessly, Ratriyagame, at every moment, helplessly people are dying. Not only that, at the universal level, this is at the individual level, even at the universal level, when the day of Brahma gets over, when the night of Brahma approaches, Ratriyagame, what happens? All the living entities in the universe they will have to die. And then when Brahma's night ends, Aharagame, when his day begins, again Prabhavanti, they have to again take birth. So this is going on at the individual level and even at the universal level. At every level this is going on. This repeated birth and death. Now at the universal level, what happens is when Brahma goes to sleep at the end of the day, during the night of Brahma, what happens? The night of Brahma is a very long period of time. It is, one day of Brahma is 43,20,000 into 1,000 years. Similarly, another 1,000 such years constitute his night. So like this, Brahma lives for 360 days into 100 years. So you can imagine, a very huge time period. So 43,20,000 into 1,000 years is one day, 12 hours of Brahma. And so similarly, 43,20,000 into 1,000 years is the night of Brahma. So during that 43,20,000 into 1,000 years of the night of Brahma, what is happening to all the living entities? They are all in an unmanifested state, without any differentiation, without any varieties, without all these universes that we see, everything is suspended. All these varieties are not there. The varieties on the earth, like the mountains, the different forms of the living entities, the birds, the aquatics, none of these things are there. So everything is nirvishesha, without variety. So that varietyless position is actually a neutral position. That's not the liberated position. It is neither the conditioned state where we are caught up in repeated birth and death, nor is it the liberated state, because you cannot remain in that nirvishesha, in that formless, varietyless, attributeless position permanently. What happens after the night of Brahma? Again, the same bhutva bhutva praliyate. Again, the repeated birth and death will continue. So it is not the liberated state also. So Krishna says, parastasmatu bhavo anyo avyakto avyaktat sanatanaha. Yah sat sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu na vinashyati. So Krishna says that beyond this manifested nature where bhutva praliyate, repeatedly birth and death is going on, the varieties, material varieties which are all temporary, which we see within this material world, beyond that there is the avyakta state, the unmanifested state. And so the unmanifested state is beyond the manifested state that we see in this material world because it is a neutral state. Now Krishna says, parastasmatu bhavo anyo avyaktat sanatanaha. There is another state beyond the unmanifest, which is sanatana, which is eternal. And yaha sa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu na vinashyati. And where in that sanatana existence, which is beyond the unmanifest avyakta state, there are living entities who do not undergo death at all. They are eternally living there, which is the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, where the Supreme Lord is there, all the living entities are there, with their individuality, with their personality, they are all exchanging wonderful, pleasurable pastimes with the Supreme Lord. So, the impersonalists do not have this understanding. They are not able to go beyond the avyakta form, the formless, attributeless state, where there are no varieties. Now, when that avyakta state or the pradhana state that is there, which has been described by Kapiladeva until now, which consists of 24 elements. What are those 24 elements? The 5 knowledge acquiring senses, the 5 working senses, the 5 objects of the senses, and the 4 internal senses, mind, intelligence, false ego, and contaminated consciousness. These are the 24 elements which in their fundamental state, without any differentiation, separation, etc., they are existing within the unmanifested pradhana. Now for all of them, to all these 24 elements to combine together and to bring about the different manifestations that we see in this material world around us. How does it happen? So for any activity to happen, there has to be an ingredient cause and an efficient cause. So like for example, we want to, let us say, we want to make a pot, a clay pot. Now, if you take a clay pot and look at it, what are the constituents of a clay pot? There is clay, there is water, and you need fire, you need a potter's wheel. These are the ingredients which are needed to make the pot. If even one of them is not there, you cannot make the pot. So all the ingredients are essential, right? So if you look at a scientist, he will take a pot, he will break it, he will analyze it, and he will come to a conclusion. This pot is made up of earth, then there is clay, and there is water, and there is fire which has baked it, and it was rotated on a potter's wheel, and this is the cause of its existence. So the scientist does not go beyond the ingredient cause. So now if you take a little bit of clay, keep on some little water, and keep on fire, and keep on potter's wheel, will all of them combine together and come out as a pot? That doesn't happen. It will never happen. But the scientist will say, by chance it has become like that. By chance. Probability is very less, but somehow it has come into existence like this. So it is a very simplistic explanation. What is the reality? Although all the ingredients may be there, unless the potter comes and he intends, let me make a pot out of all these things, the pot will never come into existence. So the potter's intention and his expenditure of energy is required to combine all these ingredients in different proportions and bring out the final product, which is the pot. Similarly, although material nature has all the ingredients, all the 24 elements are there, it is the ingredient cause. Now, just like that, all the earth, water, fire, the potter's wheel, these are all the ingredient causes. Now, there has to be an efficient cause. What is the efficient cause? The potter is the efficient cause. Although ingredient cause may be there, if the efficient cause is not there, the product will not come out. Similarly, material nature has all the ingredients, 24 elements, whatever is needed for manifesting this material universe and all the varieties of forms, it is all there, ingredients are there. But the efficient cause is not there. So what is the efficient cause? The efficient cause is always a person. So Prabhupada gives the example, another example. I gave the example of a potter. Prabhupada gives another example, just like a woman is there. Now, a woman is there in her normal state. If she is all alone, she is undeveloped. When she gets married to a man, and the husband and the wife combine, what happens? The woman produces children. So the woman always has the potential to produce children. She has the ingredient cause. She is the ingredient cause. But unless there is the combination of a man with her, children cannot be produced. So the man, the husband becomes the efficient cause, and the woman becomes the ingredient cause. So in a similar way, material nature, Prakriti, has got all the ingredients, all 24 elements are there. So it is the ingredient cause. But efficient cause is not there. Efficient cause, somebody else has to come and provide that efficiency to be able to combine all the ingredients into different proportions and to bring about the varieties of manifestations. So, who is that efficient cause? That efficient cause is identified in today's verse, that Prakriter guna samyasya nirvisheshasya. Prakriti, what is the quality of Prakriti? Nirvisheshasya guna samyasya prakritehe. That Prakriti has guna samyasya. The three modes of material nature are within that Prakriti, but they are not interacting. They are all idle. And nirvisheshasya. In the Prakriti, there is no manifestation, there are no varieties which are manifested. Everything is idle. So the ingredients are there, but efficient cause is not yet started acting. So what is that efficient cause? Cheshta yatas bhagavan kala iti upalakshitaha. Kala or time is the 25th element, which when it acts, it brings about the varieties of manifestation. Just like for an ordinary woman, when she becomes a mother, that her motherly state is the beginning of the flow of time. So Kala starts acting from the beginning of her motherly state. Otherwise she is there. There are no varieties of children coming out. Moment she becomes a mother, then varieties of children are produced. So the beginning of the influence of Kala or time is depicted or denoted by when the Kala starts acting, the varieties of manifestation start happening and the creation starts. And that Kala or the time factor, yataha bhagavan, yataha sa bhagavan, the time is actually a form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. What is that form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, which is Kala? That is Kala Bhairava. So the Kala Bhairava, I mentioned to you, who was there in Kankal, he is there in many other temples also. That Kala Bhairava is what? He is a form of Lord Shiva. And that Kala Bhairava is nothing but the personification of the time factor. So here it is stated, Yatassa Bhagavan, that Kala Bhairava is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead only. So how do we understand that? Because we know Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, Narayana, Vishnu, not Lord Shiva. So the Brahma Samhita states, Kshiram yatha dadivikara vishesha yogat sanjayate nahi tata pratagasti hetoho yas sambhutam tada samupaiti karyat govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. The Brahma Samhita gives the example, Kshiram yatha dadivikaraha. Kshira, milk. When you take, milk has its own characteristic, has its own qualities and its own consistency. Now, when that milk comes in touch with some acidic substance, like let us say lemon juice, citric acid, what happens? It gets transformed into curds. Now, the moment the milk gets transformed into curds, what happens? It has different set of characteristics. Its consistency will be different. Its taste will be different. If you consume it, its qualities will be different. The effect of it upon you will be different from that of milk. So, in one sense, curd is milk only. Correct? Without milk, curd cannot exist. But is curd milk? No, it is not milk. So, curd is milk also. At the same time, it is not milk also. So, similarly, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, when he wants the material nature to bring about all its manifestations, Sa Aikshata, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will glance upon material nature. He does not directly come in touch with material nature. The moment he glances, what happens? Immediately, he becomes transformed into Lord Shiva. So, Lord Shiva is neither Jiva Tattva, nor is he Vishnu Tattva. He is neither in the conditioned state, nor is he in the spiritual world. So, he is in between, Mahesha Dhama, which is neither the material manifestation nor the spiritual world. So, he is in an in-between state, neutral state. And therefore, Kala or the time factor is also neutral. It is neither material nor spiritual. It is the in-between position. So, when a living entity comes from the spiritual world to the material world, what happens? Kala is the crossing over factor. By the influence of Kala, he will take a material body. So, that Kala is a neutral factor. It is neither spiritual nor material. Similarly, Lord Shiva, the personification of Kala, is also neutral. He is neither material nor spiritual. He is in between. He is in a neutral state. That is why Mahesha Dhama is also neutral. It is neither material nor spiritual world. So that Kala Bhairava, upon Vishnu's glance, understanding the desire of Vishnu to create the material world, what he does? He combines with Durga, Shakti, and what happens? Their combination brings about this whole manifestation. And that is why you will see in the Shivalinga, Shivalinga is nothing but the reproductive organs of the male and the female reproductive organs of Lord Shiva and Durga or Parvati. Their combination brings about the whole material manifestation, which is denoted by, which is symbolized by the Shivalinga. So, upon Krishna's, Vishnu's desire to create, what happens? Lord Shiva and Parvati combined to bring about this material manifestation. Durga or Parvati is the personification of Prakriti, and Lord Shiva or Kala Bhairava is the personification of Kala, and their combination brings about, agitates all the three modes of material nature, and varieties of manifestations are brought about in this material world. This is how creation happens. So, a devotee of Krishna understands how this material nature is manifested, who is the ingredient cause, who is the efficient cause, and behind everything is the will of Krishna. A devotee understands the full picture. A materialist, a scientist, an atheist, what he will think? He will think material nature is working randomly upon on its own accord. So this is like thinking, like Prabhupada is giving the example from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ajagalas Tananyaya. The goat, in its neck, it will have formations in the skin which will look like breastly nipples. So if a foolish man thinks, let me go and milk the neck of the goat, I'll get milk out of it. Nothing is going to come out of it. It externally looks like that. Similarly, material nature appears as if on its own it is producing all the varieties. But no, behind material nature there is an efficient cause also. So that efficient cause for the jnanis, for the jnanis, what is it? It is the impersonal Brahman, Nirvishesha Nirvikara Brahman. But even beyond that, what is there? Even beyond that is the spiritual world, which is eternal with full of varieties. That is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Parastasmatu bhavo anyo avyakto avyakta sanatana. Krishna says, Parastasmatu bhavo anyo avyaktaha. Beyond this vyakta, manifest material world, which is temporary and full of varieties, temporary varieties, beyond that, parastasmat, beyond that is Anyaha. There is another state which is Avyaktaha, which is unmanifested. And then Krishna says, Avyaktat, beyond that, Sanatanaha, there is another eternal nature. And what is that eternal nature? That is his supreme abode. Yahasa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu navinasyati, where the living entities do not undergo death at all. So we have to understand this very clearly, because Krishna is saying beyond the Avyakta there is something. So if something is beyond the Avyakta, if it is the impersonal Brahman, that impersonal Brahman is also Avyakta, then what is that Avyakta beyond the Avyakta? It is meaningless. So if Krishna is saying beyond this manifested material nature, full of varieties, there is an Avyakta state, unmanifest state, where there are no varieties. And then Krishna says there is something even beyond that Avyakta. What we have to understand, that again, it must be having varieties. Otherwise, what is the difference? Going beyond Avyakta, beyond the unmanifest, there must be some manifestation. There must be some varieties. And Krishna differentiates. That variety there is not like the variety in this material world. Material world is bhutva bhutva praliyate, undergoes repeated birth and death, undergoes repeated creation and annihilation. But Krishna is saying, Sanatanaha, that manifestation is eternal. That means the varieties there are eternal. So the spiritual world is beyond even the Avyakta. Vaikuntha, where Narayana presides, Goloka, where Krishna resides, and surrounded by all their devotees, all individual personalities. That world is full of varieties, but eternal varieties, not the varieties of this material world which undergo repeated birth and death. So, the devotee, a person who renders devotional service to Krishna, under the guidance of a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, only such a person can have a proper, complete understanding of the spiritual, material, and the neutral states of existence. Otherwise, he can get confused. The materialists, they think, atheists, they think material world is everything by itself. Ajagarasthana nyaya. So, but the impersonalists, the jnanis, they think, no, beyond this is the unmanifest material, beyond this is the unmanifest absolute truth. But even that is the neutral state. Beyond that, beyond that is the spiritual world full of varieties, eternal varieties. And this knowledge of the existence of the spiritual realm beyond the material and the unmanifest states is accessible only to a devotee who renders loving devotional service to Krishna under the shelter of a pure devotee. So, therefore, as we have seen already, Kapiladeva has told his mother, Devahuti, in the previous verses, that to render pure devotional service to Krishna is the topmost yoga system. And when one performs that, one will understand the true, the truth of the manifestations, both material and spiritual, in full, complete aspects one will be able to understand. And therefore, he is saying, Prakriter gunasamyasya nirvisheshasya manavi cheshta yatasya bhagavan kala ityupalakshitaha. My dear mother, O daughter of Swayambhu Manu, the time factor, as I have explained, is the supreme personality of Godhead. So it is Kala Bhairava, but he is simultaneously Krishna and simultaneously not Krishna also, because he is transformed in the contact of material nature, like milk becomes transformed into curd in contact with acid. So, therefore, that Kala is Krishna only, from whom the creation begins as a result of the agitation of neutral, unmanifested nature. So, that neutral, unmanifested nature is not the final goal of a devotee. The devotee wants to go beyond that, and to go beyond this manifested and unmanifested material nature, and to achieve Vaikuntha or the spiritual world is the real goal of life. Asatyam apratishtam ahur jagadanishwaram. The atheists, they say there is no purpose behind this material manifestation. But Krishna says, no, there is a purpose beyond this material manifestation. manifestation is the unmanifest nature, neutral state, and beyond that is the Sanatana, eternal nature. So we have to Yahasa Sarveshu Bhuteshu Nasyatsu Na Vinashyati. Although within this material nature, living entities are constantly undergoing Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate, constantly undergoing birth and death. In that spiritual world, if you go, there is no more birth and death. So to attain that state of spiritual existence, where there is no more birth and death, is the real purpose of this material creation, to give an opportunity for the conditioned souls to perfect their lives in the human form of life and go back to Godhead and become liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So this material manifestation is not without purpose. And that is being explained by Kapila Deva here, that ultimately the cause behind everything, the cause of all causes, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is working in an unseen manner. So it may not be immediately perceptible to us. Anybody, common man, if he looks at this material world, he will not be able to see how Kala is bringing out the manifestation, and how Kala is a plenary manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He cannot understand. That you can understand when you take shelter of a pure devotee, just like Devahuti took shelter of the incarnation of Krishna, which is Kapila Deva, to understand all this. Similarly, we have to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada as our Diksha Guru, and we study Prabhupada's books, follow his instructions, then we will be able to understand the entire creation and its purpose in its proper position. So we'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.